3, 2, 1. Before I begin, this video is directed towards Eternalists, those which have had or have had prior something called a paraphobia, which is not to be confused with the fear of time. We have issues or had issues with the concept of eternal existence. Nothing linear, not counting the seconds, not counting the years, looking way beyond the dimension of standard time. Those which make us, those concepts that make us eternalists. So please keep in mind, it's directed towards those which understand this concept or have had struggled with this concept. Let us begin. Proof of God. Now, I cover this kind of fast, and there's many dimensions to this conversation, but we run a long chance of making this go on and on and on. Just make it fast. Proof of God. To be respectful, many of us, when we ask for us to prove God, we're really not asking us to prove God, we're asking us to validate us, to validate who we are. Whether you're an atheist, believe it or not, or devout. Proof of proof not, really is all how it pertains to you, to validate or not to validate. That is really the question that's being asked. If God exists, I don't think it really cares whether we believe this superior power exists or not. It's asking what our relationship is to the superior or non-superior power. Now, what does that have to do with phobia or getting over the concept struggle or evolving with being able to understand existence? It has probably about everything to do with it. To start off, there are only two primary denominators which we can validate. It is existence and perception of existence. Now, a lot of old texts, believe it or not, if you go to research ancient religion, they actually had a pretty strong grasp of it. And I don't mean religion per se as religion as you see today. I'm looking more like Kabbalistic, Gnostic, basically where these questions were asked, does God exist? At one time, it was actually a reasonable question to ponder and figure out. Often what ended up happening is through these ancient religions, they would come to the conclusion that it's existence and consciousness, which is fine. But then from that point on, it becomes, I don't want to say conjecture, but a struggle to understand reality. Now, there's this third part. Reality is the problem. Now, in order to get past this concept of existing eternally, you have to kind of drop what reality is. I'm not saying go, fade into whatever, become New Age, non-New Age, dimensional, multi-dimensional, multi-universes, whatever it comes down to be. That's not the issue. However, reality, in order for us to understand, you have to take into account it is a non-constant. Yes, there's math, there's laws. You have numbers like phi, you have numbers like pi, you have things which basically help us define this reality, and that math and those definitions are valid. However, it is not necessarily the root of the two basic principles, existence and perception. Let's say, for example, I know a lot of scientists have tried to determine whether this is actually a simulation we live in. You'd be shocked at some of the studies we read. Or this is a hologram, or whatever it comes down to be. If this is, per se, a virtual reality, and you have a superior power, we may live within the laws of that simulation. But the universal programmer will just say, does not. So if he wants to put the sun over here one day, or have it rise in the east and set in the west, the next day it rises in the west and sets in the east, that is the prerogative of whoever we'll just call the universal programmer is. But that does not help us understand our relationship with existence. Therefore, if you continue to work within the realm of what is definable reality, you tend to have a more difficult time getting past the concept of eternal existence. I know it may sound cryptic at this point in time, but you really got to understand reality is a non-constant. To us, the eternalist, there's only one, I should say one or two constants: existence and perception of that existence. Second thing, often our brains are programmed to think in a linear format. We often think, for example, second, I should say fourth, I apologize, that there had to be nothing before there was something. That's just the way we think. It is equally possible that there always was something. Now to proof of God. Existence can be a constant. If existence was per se nothing, I'm not saying a higher power that actually cares about us or bunnies or whatever it is, just something that's in the works that creates perception. But to get back to it, existence doesn't need material projection. It doesn't need us. We are not a rational part of just existence. Henceforth, we are perception of existence, the non-rational part of just being. I'm only going to go that far and have you guys discuss it or ask questions from that point on, because past that it becomes conjecture. This may help, this may not help. However, I'm trying to help redefine the framework in order to help many of you understand this concept better without having the pain of trying to adapt or evolve with this concept. Again, this is Ralph Turchiano. Questions, always ask. I'm here for the very small group of us that do struggle with this concept. And hopefully, like I, eventually you will no longer have to struggle once you awaken. Not awaken, sorry, that sounds so new age. Let's put it this way. Once you come to peace with understanding the concept of nonlinear time, existence, perception, and take reality out of the equation. I mean, reality is pleasant. I like it. There's order. There's chaos. Makes our lives fairly easy. But however, it doesn't have much to do with existence, especially eternally. I hope you guys help. I hope this helps you out a lot. And thanks once again, guys. Any questions, guys and girls, please feel free to ask. Catch us in a bit.